Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most dramatic and strategic developments in the ongoing war, Ukraine's reported move to lure Russian forces into Sumy and turn the region into what many are now calling a death zone. What seemed like another Russian offensive might actually be a carefully prepared trap designed to exhaust, isolate, and destroy entire Russian formations. This story is a masterclass in modern military deception and how the battlefield is as much psychological as it is physical. The Sumy region sits right along Ukraine's northern border, and its proximity to Russia has always made it vulnerable. Early in the war, Russian forces tried to take Sumy quickly, but Ukrainian defenders managed to push them back. For months, the area remained relatively quiet compared to the fighting in the east and south. But recently, reports emerged of Russian troops massing near the border, preparing for what looked like a renewed push. Instead of panicking, Ukraine seems to have deliberately left openings, drawing Russian units in deeper than they expected. This tactic has a long history in warfare. Sun Tzu famously said, "Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak." Ukrainian commanders likely studied Russian movements carefully, creating the illusion that Sumy was underdefended. By allowing limited Russian advances, they could funnel enemy troops into predetermined areas that had been heavily mined, targeted by artillery coordinates, and watched by drones 24/7. As Russian units crossed the border, they probably expected light resistance. Instead, they soon found themselves facing relentless Ukrainian drone swarms, precision artillery fire and run ambushes from small mobile teams. Each kilometer gained came at a massive cost. Fuel convoys were hit behind the lines, command posts were struck with HIMARS, and electronic warfare disrupted communications. The deeper Russian forces went, the more exposed they became. This approach is what some analysts call elastic defense. Instead of holding a rigid line, Ukraine gives ground slowly, trading space for time, while inflicting maximum attrition. The trap is sprung once Russian logistics are overstretched and their flanks are vulnerable. Then, Ukrainian counterattacks can cut off escape routes, leaving entire units surrounded. The Sumy region's dense forests and river crossings make it a nightmare for an army relying on heavy vehicles. The psychological impact of this strategy is just as important as the physical one. Russian soldiers, already fatigued after months of fighting in Donetsk and Luhansk, suddenly realize they are in a kill zone. Morale collapses when they see comrades being picked off by drones and cannot receive resupply or medical evacuation. Some prisoners reportedly told Ukrainian interrogators that they felt abandoned by their commanders, who ordered them to keep advancing despite massive losses. Internationally, this situation also sends a message. Ukraine is showing NATO and its partners that it is capable of not just defending but also shaping the battlefield. By forcing Russia to waste manpower and equipment in Sumy, Kyiv weakens Moscow's ability to launch offensives elsewhere. Western intelligence likely provided targeting data and surveillance support, further enhancing the trap's effectiveness. As the fighting continues, reports suggest that Russia is now pouring reinforcements into the area to avoid a complete rout. But this only deepens the trap. Every new battalion that crosses the border becomes another target for Ukrainian artillery and drones. Some analysts warn that if Russia does not pull back soon, they could lose thousands of troops in a pocket that will be impossible to resupply during the upcoming mud season. The timing of this operation is also crucial. With autumn setting in, the terrain will soon become difficult for heavy armor. Ukrainian planners probably calculated that any Russian force caught in Sumy during this period would struggle to maneuver, making them easy prey. Bridges can be blown, roads mined, and escape routes blocked with relative ease. This means the window for Russia to withdraw is closing rapidly. For Ukraine, the goal is not just tactical victory, but strategic messaging. Kyiv wants to show the world that Russia's army, despite its size, can be outsmarted and bled white. This helps maintain Western support for weapons and funding, proving that aid is making a difference on the ground. Each destroyed Russian tank and captured soldier becomes a piece of information warfare, reinforcing the narrative that Russia is losing momentum. Meanwhile, inside Russia, news of heavy casualties is starting to leak despite state censorship. Families of soldiers are demanding answers, and pro-war bloggers are openly criticizing the generals for walking into what they call a meat grinder. This domestic pressure could force the Kremlin to reconsider further offensives in northern Ukraine, shifting the focus back to defending already occupied territory. Another important factor is technology. Ukraine's use of drones, from cheap commercial quadcopters to advanced long-range systems, has completely changed the way battles are fought. In Sumy, drones are reportedly in the air around the clock, hunting for targets, correcting artillery fire, and even dropping small explosives directly onto Russian trenches. This constant surveillance means there is almost nowhere for Russian troops to hide. The information war is just as intense as the fighting on the ground. Ukrainian officials are carefully releasing videos of destroyed Russian columns and intercepted communications, shaping global perception of the battle. These clips go viral, boosting Ukrainian morale and convincing international partners that continued support is justified. Russia, on the other hand, struggles to explain why another offensive seems to be collapsing so quickly. If Ukraine succeeds in completely trapping Russian forces in Sumy, it could mark one of the biggest defeats for Moscow since the Kharkiv counteroffensive. Such a victory would not only free northern Ukraine from the threat of invasion, but also free up Ukrainian troops to redeploy to the Donbas and Zaporizhzhia fronts. The ripple effects could be felt across the entire war. There is also speculation that this could be part of a larger plan. By forcing Russia to commit resources to Sumy, Ukraine may be weakening Russian defenses elsewhere. A well-timed counteroffensive in the south could break through thinly held lines and threaten supply routes to Crimea. This kind of multi-front pressure has been a key part of Ukrainian strategy since 2022. Of course, we should be cautious. War is unpredictable, and Russia may still try to turn the situation around with massive airstrikes or new reinforcements. But the signs point to a carefully orchestrated Ukrainian operation that is paying off. The question is whether Russia will recognize the danger before it is too late, or whether pride and political pressure will force them to keep throwing troops into the fire. The coming weeks will be critical. If Ukrainian forces manage to encircle Russian units, we could see mass surrenders or catastrophic losses. Either outcome would further tilt the strategic balance in Ukraine's favor and bring Kyiv one step closer to liberating all occupied territory. For Russia, this would be yet another blow to its claim of inevitable victory. This battle also highlights a shift in modern warfare. The era of massive frontal assaults may be ending, replaced by precision, deception, and psychological pressure. Ukraine's ability to turn Sumy into a death zone shows how even a numerically smaller army can outthink and outmaneuver a larger opponent with the right planning and technology. For now, the world is watching. What happens in Sumy could shape the next phase of the war. If this trap closes completely, it will go down in military history as one of the most effective examples of strategic luring in the 21st century. And if Ukraine pulls it off, it will send a chilling message to Moscow. Every advance could be the last step into a carefully laid ambush.